The stars over the beaches of StarClan were shining with an unusual intensity in the night sky, shimmering and flashing with excited anticipation to one another as the moon rose higher and higher over the horizon, spilling its pale silver moonlight across the land. There was not a single cloud to be seen in any direction, and the night air was still, though the air was heavy with excitement, as though a great number of silent creatures were holding their breath in expectation. Finally, there was a shimmering ripple of moonlight across the beaches, and a gentle breeze pushed through the rustling seagrass, carrying with it satisfied, curious whisper of stars. Tonight was finally the night, and the cats of the stars would be able to walk among the dreams of the living cats that they were so curious about. It wasn't often that StarClan could walk among the dreams of ordinary living cats, and, for some reason, it did not seem as though they could walk among the dreams of all the cats of the clans of the valley either. That subject was enough to make the most curious minds turn over and over with questions, for the cats of StarClan were nothing if not endlessly curious and prone to coming up with all number of theories and guesses about the motivations of the living cats in the clans that they watched over. But the cats missing from the rare dream realm were quickly forgotten in the excitement of patting on starlit paws to the dreaming spirits of the StarClan cats below. Not that the StarClan cats would recall any of this in the morning. They never did, no matter how loudly StarClan tried to speak, argue, or bribe them. But that wasn't why StarClan wanted to speak to these dream spirit versions of the living cats, anyway. No, they wanted to speak with them and ask the clan cats the questions that ran through their minds day after day, watching the clan cats live out their lives for a far more noble purpose: pure curiosity. Nothing StarClan or the dream spirit cats said would be remembered by the living clan cats in the morning, but that didn't mean that the StarClan cats would forget. No, on the contrary, they would remember and spend the next several weeks happily curled up in StarClan, arguing and chattering with one another over the information they learned tonight. A few cats wondered why this particular dream realm left the living clan cats with no memory of their conversations, when other dreams, very important dreams, from StarClan were remembered from time to time among chosen clan cats. But, well, those were questions that could be argued another day. For now there were more pressing matters, like discovering the latest cats for the Starshippers to pair together, or cooing over the kits' developing personalities. The kits were actually where most of the starlight-outlined StarClan cats had begun to cluster around, their paw prints overlapping one another in thick trails as the StarClan cats emerged from the starlight overhead and took on the solid forms of their former lives, glimmering moonlight weaving together with the sparkle of stars until their outlines were defined and soft waving fur of all colors and patterns took form on each cat. As StarClan cats, they could jump through the air and give their solid forms up if they so wished, but it was so much more fun to take on their former bodies and enjoy the half-forgotten sensation of shoving the gathering crowd of cats aside or batting at a tail that brushed too close. The kits of StarClan, particularly the half-clan kits, as many of the StarClan cats had come to call them, Frogkit, Wavekit, and Minokit, were very popular sources of curiosity, and so the crowd that had gathered around the dream versions of these three siblings had grown considerably in a short time. Frogkit and Wavekit, caught up in their dream together, had ignored the gathering waves of shimmering cats as they play-fought in the sand, tossing one another back and forth and letting out tiny growling kitten meows and growls. Beside them, Minokit sat with her dainty, tiny paws neatly lined up in front of her, her head tilted to one side, and her wide eyes narrowed as she studied the gathering crowd with a friendly half-smile and an intense gaze. Although her dream self must no doubt know that she would forget all of the gathered cats once her dream was over, she still studied each and every cat with an intense interest, her curiosity about the StarClan cats almost as strong as their curiosity about her. Frogkit let out a particularly loud growl and kicked at Wavekit, missing him and sending sand flying through the air. Minokit leaned back with practiced ease, avoiding the sand and lifting one paw to avoid one of her brother's tails as it flew by, her eyes never leaving the curious crowd of strangers. There was a chuckle from the crowd, and a scruffy-looking brown tomcat with half his tail missing materialized, his one good golden eye locked on Minokit. "Good dodge. A good fighter, then, Minokit. Or are you just fast and listening carefully?" Minokit tilted her head and looked at the tomcat full on, her almond-shaped eyes wide and thoughtful. "Oh, I'm not sure about being a good fighter." Minokit glanced at her brothers, who were nearly twice her size and still locked in their play fight, and turned back to the tomcat, stepping quickly to the right without moving her gaze from the tomcat's eyes. A second later, her brothers crashed into the spot she had just been standing in, too busy tussling with one another to notice they would have crashed into their sister if she hadn't moved. "It's more a matter of paying attention to what a cat is like, I think." Minokit narrowed her eyes, tilting her head thoughtfully as she studied the StarClan cats in front of her. "It's nice, knowing why a cat does what they do. It's like a game, to learn lots about them." Minokit took a few dainty steps forward, boldly glancing at the StarClan cats in front of her, and, having moved, narrowly avoiding her brothers yet again. "And then you can figure out where their paws will go before they even move, even if you aren't fighting. Like knowing Misty Pond will always eat the kissing Grommy from the prey pile, or Dawnstep prefers making dirt behind the smelly purple flower bush by the boulder." Minokit purred briefly in amusement. "Learning those things about cats, that's my favorite game." A few of the gathered cats chuckled, and one large white queen nodded to herself, seemingly satisfied with the answer. "Very observant," she meowed, and the StarClan cats turned to one another, murmuring in whispers that sounded like the twinkling of stars in the night sky, a sound that was so very odd and had no similarity in the waking world. Minokit purred softly to herself and watched the starry cats through narrowed eyes, as though studying them so she could learn where a StarClan cat would put its paws next too. Finally, there was another ripple among the gathered cats, and another queen pushed her way forward. A gray and white tabby with blue-green eyes the color of moss inside of a forest stream. "Hello, young one," the queen meowed, her voice as calm as the gentle ocean breeze. "I am Ivy Stripe, and I would like to ask you some questions." The queen sat down in the sand in front of Minokit, a gentle smile on her face. "To start with," Ivy Stripe paused and glanced behind Minokit at the wrestling tomkits, her eyes twinkling with amusement. "How do you feel about your littermates?" Minokit snorted in amusement, tilting her head at the odd question, her wide eyes disappearing as she narrowed them in thought. Well, they're my brothers," Minokit meowed, then tilted her head to the other direction, her large ears bobbing from the movement. "We've always been together, so if they were gone..." Minokit bobbed her head back again, one paw pushing sand around unconsciously as she thought about the question. "We've always been together," Minokit repeated, her voice sounding somewhat distant. "Wavekit and Frogkit and me, and the other kits in the nursery too. Coralkit, Glowkit, Sandkit, Shellkit." Minokit's voice trailed off for a moment. "And if any of them were gone too, or I didn't have them, then there would still be the other kits too. I'd miss them, of course, but..." With a deep sigh for such a tiny kit, Minokit shook her head, the confusion clearing from her gaze as she glanced back at Ivy Stripe. "Well, they're my clan. I can't really imagine if any of them were gone." Minokit scrunched up her tiny nose as though smelling something foul, then shook her head again. "But, well, they are my clan, and we'd still be clan and have clanmates, so I don't think I'd be lonely." Minokit narrowed her eyes again and glanced at Ivy Stripe, her tail flicking playfully. "You aren't going to take my brothers, are you? Because if you do, Frogkit bites ears in his sleep, and I don't think you'd like that very much." There was another rush of chuckles from the gathered cats, and Minokit shifted her shoulders, her gray fur shining in the moonlight, looking faintly pleased with herself for being able to entertain the crowd so well. Ivy Stripe let out a friendly purr and licked her chest, then lifted her head for the next question. No, don't worry, Minokit. Your brothers are safe with you. Though I do wonder, how do you feel about your father, Crowfeather? The smile slipped off of Minokit's face instantly, and her eyes shone with something very young and confused before she dropped her gaze to the sand, pawing at it with one white-tipped paw. She took a deep breath, her huge ears casting shadows that hid her eyes for a moment. Oh, well, Minokit murmured, her voice sounding far younger than it had been a moment ago. Crowfeather has always been so nice to us. He used to sleep in the nursery with us, and we'd be between him and Sea Whisper all night. Sometimes, if I had trouble sleeping, he'd purr in my ear until I could fall asleep again. And he's a good fisher, and always brought me pretty scales from the pink fish. Minokit's voice squeaked, as though speaking was suddenly too difficult for her, and she lowered her gaze to the sand again, and was quiet before speaking. But he hasn't slept in the nursery in a long time now. With a tiny shake, Minokit forced herself to lift her head again, gazing at Ivy Stripe with wide eyes that carried a glimmer of old regret that seemed extremely odd to see on such a young kit. Well, I'm getting too big for the nursery anyway, Minokit squeaked, prompting a surprised ripple of laughter from the StarClan cats. Out of all of the Branch Clan kits, Minokit was easily the smallest, even if she wasn't the youngest, and Minokit was very aware of this fact. Minokit let out a tiny sigh and stretched, her small body suddenly drooping with the fatigue of being in front of so many cats for so long. Behind her, her brothers, sensing her mood in the way that littermates often could, had stopped their play and trotted up to their sister, eyeing the StarClan cats suspiciously as they approached. Wavekit was still panting hard from their play fight, but, as the biggest and strongest kit, otherwise looked fine for all the tussling, though Frogkit, beside him, was still bristling with fighting energy and had his black fur sticking up in all directions, a thick coating of sand along the side of his face and across his ears, which he was busy flicking loose. Wavekit bent to sniff at Minokit, a small frown on his face as he saw how tired his sister was, but before he could decide to fuss at the starry cats for wearing his sister out, another StarClan member stepped forward, an eager smile on her face. Wavekit! The silver she-cat stepped forward and nuzzled the large kit affectionately, causing him to sit suddenly on the sand and blink up at her in stunned surprise. I have been waiting to speak with you for ages. The she-cat let out a light, sparkling laugh and shifted from paw to paw in excitement, her smile so dazzling that the gray tomkit couldn't help but smile back at her. You sea kits are some of my favorites to watch over. You just remind me so much of my old clan. The starry she-cat let out a dramatic, happy sigh and looked down fondly at the kit, her eyes glowing with memory and excitement. We used to collect scales back then, too. So, tell me, who has the best scale collection in the nursery? Depending, of course, on if Dawnstep has cleaned the nursery out recently or not, that is. The silver she-cat laughed softly to herself, and Wavekit blinked up at her, stupefied, for a moment before he realized he'd been asked a question. Oh! Wavekit jumped, his pelt flushing hot as he realized that all the cats around them were suddenly staring at him. His paws tingled, and he glanced down at the sand between his toes, his eyes going wide. The scales? Wavekit murmured, his voice surprisingly deep for a kit. I think Minokit has the best collection right now. She's been really quiet about it, though, because I think Sandkit would argue with her and try to take some for her collection if she knew Minokit had so many sparkly pink scales. Sandkit is really cranky, because she used to have an empty rainbow snail shell that she liked a lot, even if it was kind of broken. But Shellkit made her give it to Glowkit as a gift, so he wouldn't feel so lonely in the medicine den. And, Wavekit glanced up at the gathered StarClan cats and swallowed nervously, his eyes wide. I don't know about my skill collection. I don't collect them as much as the others do, 'cause I've been watching Moonpaw train. She's really big and a strong fighter. Wavekit's shyness broke apart for a second as he smiled at the thought of one of his favored clanmates. She's Branch Clan's apprentice too, so she's going to be really, really strong, and her fur is so white, and she is so strong, and she is so wonderful. A sarcastic voice cut in as Frogkit staggered to the side against his brother, tossing his head back dramatically. Moonpaw is the best cat in the clan, 'cause she's practically the size of the moon with those giant paws of hers. Frogkit moaned and rolled his eyes, jumping away just in time to avoid an angry swipe from Wavekit. You talk about her so much, it's annoying, Frogkit meowed, his thin black tail whipping back and forth behind him. She's just an apprentice, and she isn't even the biggest cat in the clan. That's Bearglow. He's a medicine cat, Wavekit meowed, his voice low with frustration. That's different. He isn't even a warrior. Moonpaw is going to be a great fighter. I just know she is. She told me she loves fighting. Frogkit snorted and stomped a short distance away from his brother, casually making sure that their sister Minokit was between them, and thus blocking any annoyed swipes Wavekit may send his way. Whatever, Frogkit muttered, turning aside to lick away some of the sand that clung to his black pelt, muttering in annoyance as he tried to groom himself. Minokit rolled her eyes and shot a kindly glance at the annoyed Wavekit, shrugging. Ignore him, Wavekit. You know what Frogkit is like when he has sand in his pelt. The StarClan cats were glancing at one another, a few clusters of cats breaking off to chatter excitedly to each other about these developments. One particularly excited young she-cat was already chanting "Wave Moon" under her breath, while a few of the surrounding cats rolled their eyes at her, though the general atmosphere of the clan cats was still immensely curious. With a glance at one another, a pair of StarClan cats stepped forward towards the scruffy Frogkit, giving Minokit some space to recover from her speech and Wavekit time to calm down. Hello, little warrior. One of the cats, a cream-colored she-cat with a black tail and paws, stepped up in front of Frogkit, her starry eyes glowing softly in the moonlight. I'm Petaltail, and I have a teensy question for you. She flicked her tail in a friendly manner and flashed a smile, trying to lighten the mood that the cranky kits had brought to the gathering. Do you think you know why your name is Frogkit? If you like, I could tell you. Frogkit stopped his grooming and glanced up warily at the StarClan cats in front of him, his tongue still sticking out of his mouth as he blinked at them. For a moment, it looked as though the kit was tempted to ignore them and resume his grooming. And he did need to groom, with his fur sticking up all over the place, and sand and seagrass seeds sticking to him, but the curiosity over his name finally won out instead. I don't know, Frogkit meowed, his voice warily curious. I think it's some sort of thing that Crowfeather likes. He's always talking about frogs and how much he wants to eat one, but how he can never find them. Frogkit frowned, his eyes narrowing. I don't know why he can't ever find them, though. He's always got lots of fish from the water, and Otterslip says he's a really good fisher. Frogkit was silent for a moment, his tail lashing out over the sands as his thoughts raced. Maybe frogs are hard to find? Why are you asking me anyway? Are they some kind of really big monster? Frogkit blinked at that thought, looking somewhat excited. 'Cause maybe that's why he can't find any. 'Cause they're a big monster, and they're really hard to fight, and they're tough prey to take down. Frogkit jumped to his feet, his eyes flashing with excitement. Yeah, that has to be it. So he named me after a big, tough monster, because I'm going to be the toughest warrior ever. Beside him, Minokit snorted delicately into the sands, and looked immensely amused, though she held her tongue, while Wavekit frowned and looked troubled at this new idea. The StarClan cats were giggling in very un-StarClan-like ways, but Frogkit didn't take notice. With a shake of her head, the gray she-cat named Misty Heart, who had not yet spoken, let out an amused purr and looked down at the fierce black tomcat in front of her, her eyes taking on a more serious glint as she approached a question that several of the StarClan cats had wanted to ask tonight. "Well then, fierce Frogkit, what do you think about how your father, Crowfeather, accidentally left a death fish in the pile of food he left for you and your siblings?" The atmosphere of the sandy clearing changed immediately at the mention of the death fish. The StarClan cats quieted instantly and seemed to shimmer into the darkness, their gazes turning back towards the three kits with a fierce intensity. The kits, for their part, all looked startled. Wavekit and Minokit glanced at one another nervously, and Frogkit stared at Misty Heart, his eyes wide and his expression blank with shock. Finally, he took a couple shaky steps back and puffed up slightly, his kitten legs swaying as he tried to stretch himself to his full height. "It wasn't any big deal. I wouldn't have eaten the fish anyway. I'm not a mouse brain," Frogkit cried, his voice louder than he had meant it to be. He took a deep breath and swallowed, his wide eyes flicking over the StarClan cats before he continued. "I'm not. I was just playing. I would have seen it. Sea Whisper didn't have to yell at him like that and take us away. Nothing would have happened." A short distance away, Minokit, curled up on the sands with her legs tucked under herself, trembled, suddenly looking very tiny indeed. "It was dangerous. We could have died if we bit it. Crowfeather should have been more careful." Her voice sounded hollow at the memory. The way that their kit joy and excitement and play had been shattered so terrifyingly had had a tremendous effect on all three of the kits, though in different ways. Beside his sister, Wavekit let out a soft, confused meow of distress. Frogkit whipped towards his siblings, his black fur bristling out. "It was just an accident. You all act like it's such a bad thing and make Crowfeather feel so bad, but no one said bad things about Trout Shadow when he fed Bearglow the first death fish. Everyone said it was an accident, and they're worried about where Trout Shadow is. So why do you have to be so mean to Crowfeather? He said it was an accident, and we didn't die. Nothing happened. I'm not mouse-brained, I said. I wouldn't really have eaten it." Frogkit was sputtering with fury at this point, his voice cracked with anger and fear. His eyes were wide with distress as he jumped to the side, staring out at the StarClan cats without really seeing them. "It isn't my fault!" With a distressed cry, Frogkit dashed off across the cold night sands, disappearing into the shadows of the rocks of Branch Clan's caves. A StarClan cat or two made concerned sounds, but they were stopped by the others. This was the Dream Realm, after all, and the young kit would be fine, and perhaps better left to calm down with his own thoughts. There was a soft sigh from among the StarClan cats gathered, a few casting regretful glances at the kits, their curiosity unsatisfied from the many questions they still had. But they would have to wait for another night. The kits of the sea and the crow were a subject of much debate among StarClan, and it was clear that despite the gentle teasing about siblings and the kind questions about scale collections, there were deeper issues pooling like strong currents at the kits' lives. The questions of their future was caught up in the more serious questions about the future of Sea Whisper and Crowfeather, after all. With a few knowing glances, several of the StarClan cats began to slip away into the shadows, some eager to search out that particular pair, and others beginning to walk up to the forest to visit Mossclan. There was something special in the air tonight, and it was clear that it was time to search out the other dream cats and ask them more questions. There was only so much time the StarClan cats had left, after all, with the clans in the state they were in. Any cat worth their whiskers could sense it. The distant rumble of change and chaos, opportunities for glory and challenge, the rush of life's unpredictable adventure coming down on the horizon towards the clan cats, as sure as the sun would rise. Change and challenge were coming to the clans, and the StarClan cats would have to move quickly to learn what they could of the clan cats before the new dawn arrived. Hello everyone, and welcome to a special little footnote at the end of this StarClan Speaks episode. So I just wanted to say thank you so much to you guys for your patience while I have ridden out a very interesting week in my life. Those of you who have been following with the community update vlogs and on my Twitter know that we've had everything from a personal medical injury when I really hurt my wrist and had to rest it for a few days, to some family developments where there were some major medical mysteries going on. And I wasn't able to get warrior cats out as often as I said I would, or as often as I wanted to, and then I got really anxious about getting it out at all, and it took me a little while to be able to build up the courage to start writing and recording it again, because it's a big investment in time. It actually, from the moment when I got home and started working on this, has been 5 hours of just the writing and the recording, and that we're gonna add at least another hour and a half for the editing, processing, maybe another 30 minutes on top of that for the uploading. So each and every Warrior Cats episode I put out, it actually takes me a very, very, very long time, anywhere from 5 to 7 hours to get to you guys. So that's the entire day, and that's just one episode, and that's kind of dangerous when you're a smaller YouTube channel like mine. And before you guys throw your hands up in the air, yes, we're still considered a smaller YouTube channel. We don't get like 30,000 views a video. So that's why sometimes I will put out a whole bunch of other videos before putting out a Warrior Cats, because Warrior Cats is my love. It's my creative love. I feel so in touch with my writing. I feel so in touch with the characters, with you guys as the community, and it honestly doesn't earn me as much when you look at the time investment versus views versus having to take care of my family. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there to explain to you guys, because I've had so many questions in the past and especially over the last week about where's Warriors. Sometimes you're going to see a absolute rush of other things, because Warriors is technically like a time and money sink for me, because that 7 hours of working on one Warrior Cats could be flipped around and like could be Animal Jam, could be dozens of other episodes, but that doesn't matter to me as long as I'm having a wonderful time engaging with our characters. So I just kind of wanted to get that out on why Warriors hasn't been as frequent. I had to balance things out for a little bit for a lot of personal reasons, and just explain that to you guys, just to keep that in mind for the future, that I truly, deeply love these characters and I love this story. And 6 months ago when I started our Warrior Cats challenge, I would have never dreamed it would change my channel, who I am, our community so much, and I am so excited to see where we're going to go from here, especially bringing in the third clan for season 2. I have big ideas for that, big ideas that are big enough that they intimidate me a little bit, and I can't promise you guys I'll be able to pull it off as awesomely as I hope to, but I'm going to do my best, and I really hope you guys are looking forward to season 3. I'm actually thinking, and let me know if you think this is a fun idea, that I might set up some sort of fun way where either through random generator or some sort of fun little something, we could make it where you guys could earn the opportunity for me to create your original character and add them in either into the new clan or add them in as a cat that you could just find roaming around the forest now and then. So I think that would be kind of fun. We might start doing maybe once a month, just an opportunity where you guys can submit your OC, and it would only be there because I do not take OC submissions through emails. I do not take them through comments. I do not take them through snail mail. So don't send them in there, because I have hundreds and hundreds of requests to add in original character cats. And it hit me today that it would be really fun if we could come up with a special way where at least every now and then I could add 1 or 2 of those cats in, because there's a chance that they may age up and they may actually have their whole life pass by before we're really able to make them an active character, if they'd ever become an active character. But it'd be fun to know that they're there and there's the chance to bump into them, especially if we're going to start having the clan cats meet with cats from other areas. We don't really have a lot of conflict between Branch Clan and Moss Clan. We may definitely have a lot of conflict conflict with the third clan because they're naturally more conflict driven, and you guys will see that coming up when they emerge. And I don't know about the fourth clan. They're not really conflict driven per se, but they've got a big twist to them that you guys will see. They've got a very special way of living that's unlike any of the other clans. So we do have the other clans coming in, but we're not really having a lot of fighting between them. So don't worry. I know many of you actually wish to see more death and drama because the original Warrior Cat series actually has a lot of injuries. They have a lot of death. They have a lot of drama, and we don't see that a lot in our series. Technically, I think we do. But we definitely will have more of that ramped up, and I think I'm going to start adding in clans that aren't official clans, but maybe just groups of cats that are more prone to fighting, or groups of like rogues that wander around, or maybe just stray cats that kind of move from territory to territory. They might even visit with the more friendly, open to outsiders clans like Mossclan, who always has a visitor, it seems, and then leave again. And we might start shifting relationships a lot more. So the things that you see in the roleplay scenes, I'm going to start using those to edit the relationship levels and not just leave it up to the cats anymore to kind of, in the Sims mechanics, the cats would mostly stay pretty friendly with one another. So I'm going to be working on all sorts of details like that in the background. And I just want to, that's a horse. That's funny. And there goes a horse. I just wanted to let you guys know that. So let me know what you guys think about submitting your original character. Please keep in mind that I do want to bring you as much warrior cats as possible. It is kind of a time and money sacrifice on my end to create it because of how long it takes to do versus how popular it is versus the fact that I just love it. I truly love it. And I want you guys to be happy, and I want to bring you more warriors. But if you can be patient with me for those times when I just can't get it out as quickly as I wish, it really takes the stress and pressure off of me, letting me know I can't wait to see the next warriors versus Seri, why are you putting Animal Crossing out? I want warriors. What is this? What are you doing? That sucks my motivation away from making warriors, actually. It makes me panic. It makes me go, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And I can't focus. And just seeing your excitement versus your criticism of the other things I tried to play to enjoy. And also when I'm doing those other games, you guys, not only are they important for the health of my channel, my livelihood, my family's livelihood, but remember sometimes I have to dabble in other things in order to renew my creativity for warrior cats. And I love warrior cats, and I love writing it. I don't think we're ever not going to have warrior cats. I really can see this going on and on and on and on through the generations, and I hope you guys are looking forward to that, especially as we get better with figuring out our random generators. A lot of people have been asking if we can start doing things like festivals at like the cats can hold. So we're going to be really kind of changing up some of the lore. We're going to be changing up some of the way that Warrior Cats is set up in our world so that we can add even more dynamic interactions between the clans, the different characters, the different cats that are going to be coming up. I don't want to give too much away, so I better stop talking soon. But I just wanted to reassure you guys that I'm here, that I am so in love, that I adore this story and this world, and I can't imagine my life or the future of my channel without it. But if you guys can please be patient, it is a sacrifice to make these in terms of money and time, and I have to balance that sometimes, and sometimes I need to be inspired by other things. And if you guys are excited versus critical of the other things I put out, that would definitely help. And I do want to come up with even more ways where we could include the community. Having you guys ask questions as StarClan cats for these episodes is so much fun because we can kind of play with the way that people like to ship the cats. We can play with the way that people have a lot of questions about this group or that group. We can kind of play with the StarClan cats in the StarClan Speaks episodes to reflect you guys and your comments. And I read everything, trust me. So I know what you guys are thinking. I know what you guys want to know. I know your theories, and I know all sorts of thoughts like that. So the StarClan Speaks episodes will probably start being a little bit more frequent too. And let me know what you guys think about that. Do you like StarClan Speaks because it's a much more direct way to ask the questions you guys are wondering? Or do you prefer more roleplay episodes where I might not be able to so directly answer your questions, but I might kind of allude to them? Let me know what you enjoy. And did you like this StarClan Speaks episode? I loved it because it let me learn so much more about the kits just answering your questions. It really helped to expand their characters for me. And I think I'm going to try to include these StarClan Speaks episodes a little bit more often often. We've only done a handful of them before, but I definitely want to include them more often because it kind of helps you understand the characters' personalities. And often, hello, other horse. And often we have a lot of people very upset with decisions that are made by the cats because they don't understand that cat's personality. Like Honeywish and Silverfang. So many people were upset. But then when I wrote out and explained, here's all these examples, here's how the cat's personality is developed, a lot of people understood, oh, I just didn't see that before. So I think if I did more StarClan Speaks and more little role play, short, tiny videos, then maybe you guys will understand their personalities a bit better. But we definitely will keep things moving on. I'm sort of slowing things down. Hello, Ghosty Horse Hoof. I'm sort of slowing things down right now just because I really want to give you guys a chance to get to know the cats before we slam into season 2. And once season 2 hits, I'm going to introduce the new generators. There's going to be a lot more fighting. There's going to be, and we're going to alter the generators, so it's not going to be very common to fight to the death unless that's the cat's personality. Hello, horsey. Or unless that happens to be like the situation that's going on. But we'll put in more like, you know, territory fights, and that's why I want to introduce maybe some wandering cats that just are always kind of hankering for a fight, even if they don't have a personal grudge against a particular clan. So there's going to be that coming up because I know so many of you guys have requested it, but for the most part we're just going to continue to follow the story and watch where it goes and how it evolves. That's the thing that I love most about this and sharing this with you, is that half the time, you guys, I am just as surprised as you guys by the way the events fold out, because every single episode I roll fresh random generators. Every single episode we see new things happen in the gameplay, and I think that's so special and so fun, and it's so hard. I hope I want to drop to my knees and throw my hands in the air and go, do you guys understand how hard it is to make any kind of cohesive plot when everything changes day to day, episode to episode? It's very hard, so I hope you guys are enjoying it. But yeah, just let me know what you love about Warriors. Let me know what you would like to see. Please don't be too critical, it really wears me out, but just let me know what you like, and it really helps to pump me up and make me excited for sharing more things with you. So today we had a lot to talk about with Minokit, Wavekit, and Frogkit, but next time we will probably have at least 1 or 2 more StarClan Speaks, and I will be going through past the old questions. You guys can ask some new questions. I'll see which ones seem most relevant for plots or expanding characters. Tons of people had Beekit and Bumblekit questions and Oakglade questions, which really surprised me. There were a lot of those. And you can bet your bunches that we are going to be going over and visiting with Crowfeather and Sea Whisper and seeing independent views of their current thoughts as well. If you enjoy these StarClan Speaks episodes as a way to sort of have an exposition dump and to be able to understand the cat's thinking, then please let me know. If you just want to see more chaos, then let me know. Yeah, just basically the floor is always open, you guys, and I would love to hear back from you because it is an investment for me to spend time making these episodes. But when I see you guys happy and excited, when I see you guys thrilled to watch the characters evolve right along beside me, because these aren't pre-planned characters, they're evolving as we play, I love sharing that excitement and passion with you guys. And if you guys just want to share that in the comments, it really fuels me and gives me so much energy, just like when we first started the series. Do you remember that? I was so on top of it. And now that I've had a little bit of a rest and a break, I feel like I'm getting back on top of it again. But I just want to give you guys a heads up that we may kind of have to build up a little bit through StarClan Speaks, and it may be some days where I have to spend a little bit of extra time trying to write, because introducing season 2 is probably going to be slam of a few roleplay episodes, because there's no other way I can really tackle the huge events that are going to happen and the chaos that that's going to bring. And I can't say any more, else things are going to start slipping out. So I'm done. There's that. I hope you guys are all having a wonderful time and you enjoyed the StarClan Speaks. Let me know if you enjoyed it in this format or you prefer like really short, quick questions. I really wanted to use it as an opportunity to sort of present each cat in their own personality range and their behavior, different mannerisms that they may have, and also to play, like I said, with how you guys react to the cats and kind of reference that too. So enough of my chattering, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.